Welcome to our second episode of DBV by A.M.A.N. Yazlet podcast about democracy beyond voting and being civically engaged. To recap, we've already gone over some definitions on what democracy is in episode 1, so make sure you listen to that one first. Today we want to give our listeners some individual perspectives and answer to the questions asked in episode 1. So here it is, the personal statements by our team members, Maxim, Aizulu, Edicha, and Nora.
Hi, my name is Nora Peterson. I'm 15 years old and I live in the United States, and I'm going to be answering 6 questions today.
Hi, I'm Aizulu. I'm 17 and I live in A.M.A.N, Kazakhstan.
Hello, I'm Aditya Arya, a 15-year-old, today sharing my personal experience on the topic democracy beyond voting.
Hello, my name is Maxim. I'm 15 years old and I'm from Kaliningrad, Russia, and now I'm going to answer a few questions.
The first question is, what does voting look like in my country? In the United States, every 4 years, people over the age of 18 vote for the President of the United States. Our current president is Donald Trump. In between those 4 years, people over 18 vote in smaller elections like for governor or for mayor. When someone votes, they only get one option for who to vote for in each party. So if I was looking at a ballot, I would only see one option for the Democratic Party, one option for the Republican Party, and one option for the Independent Party. Donald Trump is a member of the Republican Party. In order to vote, a person must register, then either request a ballot to be sent in the mail or go to the government building in person. The next presidential election is in 2028, and I will turn 18 that year and be allowed to vote.
People here can vote from age 18. The presidential elections are held every 7 years without the right to re-elect, but due to some changes in our new constitution, our current president has the right to run again under the previous rules. Voters can also choose against all options if they are not satisfied with any candidates, and parliamentary elections are held every 5 years, along with local elections and referendums.
So, in my country of residence, India, universal disenfranchisement is followed, meaning that each and every person aged 18 and above has the right to vote once per election, and that value of each vote is equal. Elections are mainly held at 2 levels, central and state, with each election being held every 5 years to appoint a prime minister and chief minister respectively. A multi-party system is followed, giving the voters multiple political parties as options to vote for. Additionally, there is a system of reservation followed in some constituencies, which means that only a person from a specific caste can represent a political party in that region. Furthermore, there isn't dominance of any single political party, and to win elections, multiple political parties often come into alliance to form a coalition government. The next general elections to appoint a central government are to be held in 2029, but sadly, by that time, I won't be present in India due to my aim for studying abroad.
To be honest, in Russia, we have presidential, parliamentary, regional, and local elections, but I don't think they're truly competitive because many opposition candidates aren't allowed to just to run, and a debated election observes fair restrictions, and state media mostly supports the current government.
Is voting fair in my country? I think voting is both fair and unfair in the United States. I think it is fair because currently everyone has the right to vote in the United States. I think it has been unfair in the past. Until a few decades ago, Black people weren't allowed to vote in the United States. And then before that, white women weren't allowed to vote in the United States. I also think that due to our current administration, a lot of people in the US are at risk for losing their right to vote. The Trump administration has been changing laws and voting rights in the US, and followers of the administration have joked about giving the man of the house a vote.
Voting is not fully fair in my country. Election observers reported some poor transparency during the vote counting, and they also have seen that there were some ballot stuffing during the 2019 presidential elections, while independent journalists and opposition parties often face pressure. Also, there is no political competition here.
So, I would say that voting isn't completely fair in India, as money and muscle power do play some role in behind the scenes in influencing the election outcomes. Though this is not an often occurring case. The rules stated in the Constitution of India provide every person who is aged 18 and above the right to vote, with their vote being valued equally, which validates fair voting on paper. But on ground, reality hasn't been the same. Though the government is actively trying to fix these laws and ensure fair voting and conduction of elections?
In my opinion, no, because personally, I don't trust the Russian election system. There have been many reports of elections fraud, pressure on voters, unfair advantages for the government, and just restrictions on independent candidates. And because of that, I don't believe elections always reflect what people actually want.
The third question is youth in my country politically active? The youth in my country are politically active. A lot of my friends and I post on social media about things we see online. I often repost news or articles or alarming facts to my Instagram. A couple months ago, I posted something about the backlash about our Super Bowl performer was getting from the government. I received lots of DMs after that from mutual friends of mine who agreed with me. I also see lots of people at my school wearing political shirts to school and around town. My friends and I have a rule at school that we aren't allowed to talk about politics at the lunch table. It's a good way to talk about something other than government for once.
Youth in KZ is active. We can see that through such political activists as Murat Daniyar and femme activists who organize protest marches that have been denied by local governments since 2023. I have a friend who writes poems about some of the social issues that we still face in Kazakhstan, and I also have seen that my peers spoke up against recent LGBTQ violations.
The youth of India has been politically active in recent times and have held the government accountable for their actions. In the last 2 months, a protest was held by the youth for 37 straight days in the capital of the country, New Delhi. And the reason for the same was misconduction of medical entrance exam, NEET, as it was apparently leaked and later deconducted, breaking the morale of thousands of students across India. Following this incident, the protest gained its initial momentum, which later led to mass support by youth, demanding strict actions against the ones involved in leaking the paper and resignation of the Union Education Minister. The protest finally ended when the demands were finally met by the central government.
Yes, but in totally different ways, because a lot of young people care about politics, social issues, but most of them are not able to speak publicly because some are afraid of getting into trouble at school, work, or just even with the law, right? And because of this, many choose to stay quiet.
The fourth question is my country politically polarized? Yes. Yes, my country is extremely politically polarized, especially since Donald Trump was elected for his first term in 2016. While I don't remember everything because I was in kindergarten, I remember that after that election, I started hearing about people talk about politics in a meaner way. I think that's when it really became polarized. Now, when I go to school, I have to actively think about who I'm talking to because I don't always want to get into a heated debate every second of the day. I also think my country is politically polarized outside of the teenagers. When I listen to adults talk about politics, it always sounds like they're pointing fingers at someone else.
I would say that our society is a bit divided, but not in democratic versus Republican way, but more of, I don't really support my president versus, yes, I love Qasem-Jomart Tokayev, he's the best kind of way.
I think that it's true. Russian society is divided on issues like the war, the government, the country's future, and some people strongly support the government, while others strongly disagree with that. But because open discussions is limited, these different opinions aren't always visible.
Honestly, I would say that my country is quite politically polarized right now. If you turn on the evening news or scroll through social media, it feels like everything is divided into extreme us versus them debates, mostly revolving around religion, nationalism, and government's policies. However, because India is so huge and diverse, the digital polarization doesn't always reflect how people interact in daily life, where we still come together over shared culture and social issues. Still, eventually during election season, the ideological divide becomes very obvious and can honestly be a bit overwhelming for the youth to navigate through.
The fifth question is, does free speech exist in my country? Technically, free speech does exist in the US. It's written down on paper in the Constitution. It's literally the First Amendment of the Constitution. But I don't think free speech exists in practice. For example, when I watch TikTok, I often see videos of people informing an audience about something going on in the US, but they use code words and other tricks so they won't get censored. The other day, I saw a video about a woman teaching us about a new law in Louisiana, but she mouthed a lot of the words instead of saying them out loud. She said that the video had already been taken down once, and she didn't want it to be taken down again. This is just one example, but it's been happening more and more.
Freedom of speech is very limited in my country. The new constitution states that freedom of speech must not violate public morality, but we cannot define this term exactly, and it can be interpreted broadly. And recently, a social media user was criticizing the new constitution and the government overall on Threads, which was the reason he was detained.
I don't think that Russia has full freedom of speech today, even though the constitution guarantees it, but in reality many independent media outlets have been just shut down or blocked, and so journalists and activists have faced criminal charges, and people can get into legal troubles for certain political statements.
On paper, in the Indian constitution guarantees freedom of speech and citizens exercise it daily. However, in practice, it feels like it comes with unwritten terms and conditions. While we express our opinions, there's often a lingering fear of social media, trolling, legal trouble, or administrative pushback. Free speech definitely exists, but people, especially the youth, are becoming much more cautious about how and where they express their political dissent.
The sixth question is, have any events in my country recently affected my ability to speak out? Like I said in my previous answer, censorship has been becoming more and more popular in the US over the last couple of years. It hasn't affected my ability to speak up, but it feels like it could be any day now.
And recently, when I posted a TikTok video about some of the social issues in Kazakhstan that has reached 200,000 views on TikTok, some people were joking in the comments that whether it's safe to like or share it. I think it pretty much shows how censorship is normalized and how we got used to it. And also, as a queer person, I am aware of how restricted it is to freely express my identity.
So to answer this, I would say that I haven't personally been silenced, but watching recent events have made me much more cautious. Seeing how student demonstrations during the NEET exam leaks faced heavy police presence, or how social media accounts get flagged during intense political moments, was a reality check. These events haven't taken away my voice, but they have shown me that speaking out in today's climate can come with real risk and friction.
So the next one is, have any events in my country recently affected my ability to speak out? Yes, especially since Russia full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, new laws have made it much riskier to publicly criticize the war or the government, and because of that, many people, including me, are much more careful about what they say online or in public.